Hey y'all, Scott Grove here, Dr. Groovy of GroovyMusicLessons.com. Figure I might as well get one more video done while the lights are on. Okay, I want to talk to you about pickups, since that's what I'm talking about today. I want you to remember that pickups, when they are designed, let's say you're going to Seymour Duncan or whatever, when they make a specific model, they put it basically in like the same guitar over and over and over and over again, and that's what they use as their model to voice their pickup. So there is a peak resonant frequency. It doesn't mean the guitar resonates and then it picks it up. It has nothing to do with that. It's like humbuckers. If you guys know how an equalizer works and what different frequencies are, if not, this won't make much sense to you, so go bone up on it. I can tell you every frequency, like on the 31 band EQ, if it's getting ready to ring or just what needs to be taken in, and name it by, just by heart. Guitar and vocals and everything else that is a lead instrument or a lead vocal or whatever just live around that 1K range, okay? And then if you want the high end, you get that 6.3 in there, and you can go all the way down to 100 if you sing, bass, 100 hertz. But guitar lives right around that 1K. That's what really cuts through. But it's the same as vocals, it's the same as sax, it's the same as any lead instrument, keyboards, anything else, except for bass and stuff. But snare drum lives right in there. So you actually have to mix each or EQ each instrument different than others, not so that it sounds great by itself, but so that each instrument has certain frequencies pulled out just to make room for a different instrument to have these other frequencies that would have been great in one, just so they will actually be pronounced and individualized and make your mix sound better. So you're sacrificing some tone from each instrument to make the other ones heard better, because once a couple, two, three instruments share the same frequencies, they all actually cancel each other out and you can't tell what's going on. So when they're doing pickups, again, say it's, who did I say, Duncan, they'll go like for a resonant peak of like 1K, so that the pickups will have that 1K frequency that is spiked. If you look at a graph of the frequencies that are being amplified on your guitar, so that it will cut through at that exact mid-range point more than anything else. It's a very pronounced thing on a graph. It's showing the frequencies, then 1K, and then back down again. And then Fender guitars will be up around 3 to sometimes even up to the 4K, that real nice bright thing. So it'll be way up there, and then that type of thing. What happens, this here's my 1964 Firebird Groovy axe with the little pickups. Okay, generally, and this is just generally, this is not a rule at all, this is kind of part of the whole deal, is guitars with humbuckers, even if they're mini humbuckers, generally will have the resistance of what is known as 500K pots. Underneath here you got the pots, the potentiometers that are 500K. The 500K is for 5,000 ohms. What it means is that's just a measurement of resistance. Okay, so if you have, let's just say this is a Seymour Duncan with a 1K spike in it. I've got them over there, but I'm just not going to drag it out. We're going to pretend here, kind of like I do all the time. So it has a spike of 1K. Now what's going to happen is it has a certain output too. Like say it's got 14 on the output. Once it goes through a pot of any kind, potentiometer, it loses about 2.5 decibels. Okay, And then if it goes through a tone pot as well, it's going to lose that too because you just added some more resistance. Okay, so what that does is even if they're wide open, you just lost stuff. You put a load on that pickup. So it went through one potentiometer or pot, and then it went through the tone one, so it went through another one. So you just lost, 5 dB of your stuff. And what else happens is that peak frequency, that 1K that Seymour Duncan made, especially just to sound great in that one guitar that he has. So if they're in the wrong location from the guitar that you're using, then it's not going to sound. If your pickup is in a different position than the guitar he had the pickup in when he was making the pickup, he made it to be in a specific place, a specific distance from the bridge, a specific scale length, then it's not going to sound the way that he meant for it to sound like anyway. So you have to get the specs of what he put it in. Then you have to decide if you want to buy it, because guitars, if you hear somebody that has this antiquity pickup in, and your guitar's the wrong scale length, then it's not going to sound the way Seymour Duncan meant it to in your guitar that's a different scale length. It's just not going to happen. It's, again, location, location. And then how many potentiometers did he have it running through? So what was the load going through here? Was it going through just one master volume, that type of guitar, or 2 pots going through, or what? Okay, so you lose from this 14,000 K resistance here, you lose 5 decibels going through 2 pots here, plus again, it eats away, right away, at that 1K frequency. So you just tore some of that away. But how much of it? And again, is it in the same place as Seymour Duncan meant and designed that pickup to sound like? And then what happens with your pots if you're using your typical audio pots and not linear pots, you can read up on those on your own, is when you back off like the tone knob, what goes away? Again, the peak frequency is the first one to start to disappear. So that 1K starts to go away, and then what the pickup was meant to sound like really goes away. Same thing with the volume knob. If you're using an audio taper pot instead of a linear pot, or a no load pot, what happens is they just eat away at that pickup's main function, its main sound. But then again, that pickup was designed in some kind of guitar and meant to have that stuff in mind, that you were going to be turning knobs up and down. Okay, so just know that it's going to eat away at its signature sound, but it is meant to do that with potentiometers. Find out what that pickup was in, what scale length it was in, and how far away it was from the 24th fret or the 22nd fret or the bridge, what the scale was, to see if you're going to pick up, if you even have a chance of that pickup even sounding correct in your guitar. If you don't have the same basic build going on, it's just not going to happen for you anyway. So that's something you really have to consider. And also, again, if these are 500K pots, the higher K pots you go into, again, this is just basic and not always the rule. Again, humbuckers generally go through 500K pots, and single coils generally by rule go through 250K pots. What does that mean for you? The higher the number of the K pots, the more treble it will introduce into the signal. Okay, because some of it usually goes directly to ground, which is just something you will learn. So you have humbuckers, okay, in a 500K pot instead of the 250K pot, the lower number that are in Fenders, because Fenders are already bright. So Fender uses the 250K pots, which takes some of the brightness away. Humbuckers are generally muddy because they're just what they are. They're two pickups next to each other, and then, you know, especially if they're overwound and they're trying to be hot output, the more output, the more wraps they put around there, the treble just keeps dropping off, dropping off, dropping off. So you have to go to a higher K resistance pot. So you could, if you're up here to 500K pots and you need more high end, then you might as well go up to like a 1 meg pot. That will give you more high end on your guitar to have there if your knobs are wide open. And speaking of knobs wide open, it doesn't matter if they're wide open or if they're cut off. You know, you're still losing 2.5 dB of output, 2.5 again, so you're still losing 5, even if they're wide open. Okay, so them being in there, even though they're wide open, they are creating that load. You're losing power. There's no way around that, unless you have what's called like a blow switch, which takes them directly from here right to the output and doesn't go through anything, which can and can't be useful a lot of times. Of course, like I said, the pickups are always, always, always designed to be in a certain guitar and at a certain scale length and in a certain position and a certain distance from the bridge, etc., etc. Most people don't consider that. They don't even think about it. They just think they can just take that antiquity pickup and toss it into a Les Paul and it will be fine. But if he put it on some guitar that was 25.5-inch scale, then it will be in the wrong place and it will never sound the way it was meant to be. It just cannot. It's just the facts of life, kids. Okay, so here's where it gets really strange. Okay, the Fender Stratocaster. Let's pull out this cutie pie right here. Okay, 250K pots in there. If you wanted this guitar to be brighter, just overall, you could take those out, the 250K pots, and put 500K pots. Then the whole guitar would just be brighter. Okay? If you want it really bright, you could put 1 meg pots on them. They'd be really flippin' bright. But you always have tone controls. So it depends on what you're looking for. So it's also an education on how that works. One thing to remember is this pickup and this pickup are going through a volume. So this one goes through volume and that tone. This one goes through a volume and that tone. So they're both taking away 250K resistance. So they're taking away half the resistance of the other thing that had 500K pots. So they're taking away 125, you know, or actually 250, 500 total. So the same as going 1 pot with the Gibson. So they're not going to be quite as affected by the 250K pots. Still enough that you'll notice, but not as much. But this back pickup here, on most Strats, only goes through the volume knob. It does not have a tone knob. You can make it that way in a matter of 5 seconds, but so that one's going to be really bright. But thing is, on these guitars like this, and you can see it in my other video when I show you how to put a tone pot in with this, they make all these pickups with different outputs already in mind. So this one has less output, that has a little more, that one has the most output. Same as on your Gibsons. Okay, I'll tell you the reason behind that in a second. This one here is only going through 1 pot, so it's only getting cut a little bit. But the other ones are all getting cut twice as much as this one is. Okay, this one's already louder because it's already been wrapped. So therefore, it's been over wrapped and is about double the output of this one. But it has to be for a few reasons. The windings on here are, you know, almost double the output of this, which actually brings the high end down. So it really doesn't need to go through a tone pot unless you want it to, because the high end just went down because of being wrapped so much. Okay, so they think about this stuff. Okay, Now the thing is about the volume deal and why the neck pickups are always less, you know, in volume as far as the specs go, but not as far as you can hear. That can sound just as loud as this. And that's what I want. I want all my pickups to be exactly the same volume. The thing is, this pickup being so far down here, and it gets to vibrate so little from here to here, that it barely has any string to amplify. The strings are ringing wider and picking up more sound from here. And then they're really picking up a lot of sound through here. So a weaker pickup will get a stronger signal because you're almost in the middle of the guitar, you're approaching it. So therefore you get a lot more vibration going on within the magnetic field. So it's really talking to that pickup. So it doesn't have to be that hot. Okay, so they all have to be voiced differently. So this one might be voiced with a little more in like the 5 or 6K area with their, as far as the resonant peak. And it'll change down to about 3K here and about 1K down here just to compensate for the resonant peak for its location and what it needs to do. So this one isn't just chewing your head off with treble. Okay, and again you can put it in with a tone pot, even mellow that out more if you want to. And again, I just put a video out for that same day as this one, so check it out so you can even them out a little more if you want to. So this also leads into one other thing, and then I'll show you one other guitar and I'll be out of here. But I just wanted to kind of explain why different guitars do it a different way. You can be pretty rest assured if you're buying single coil pickups that they're going to be a 25.5 inch scale, but then again some aren't. Some are like the Gibson scale, or the 24.75 or the Paul Reed Smith, which is a 25 inch scale. But they're going to sound different in each guitar because of where they're going to be at because of the scale length. And again, if you have any of those scales that have 24 frets, there's no way to get the pickups where they belong to get a Strat sound. If you want it to sound different than a Strat, then change it up all you want, but you can buy other pickups that will take that into consideration and were voiced to be in a 24 fret guitar that is 24.75 inch scale, and it's revoiced to sound like it is in this position actually. But you have to do your homework and find out who has made such pickups that are meant to be put in an odd scale guitar for single coil pickups, but to retain that Strat sound. Okay, so just remember that the builders of pickups put specific spikes, if you will, use that word totally in conjunction with the peak resonant frequency. But remember, each one of these will lose that peak frequency as you start turning down any knob, whether it's volume or whether it's tone. That's the first frequency to go down, and it will go down faster than all the other frequencies. So when you cut your tone all the way down to 0, instead of that graph going up and going like that, it will actually come down where that resonant peak was. It will bring it down just as far as it was up. It will just like do a big mid scoop thing, but just in that one frequency. Really strange, but that's the way pickups work. So they are designed in a certain guitar to sound the way they're going to sound. And if you put them in something else, that's fine to experiment. That's what it's all about. Find out what works. But just giving you some extra information to work with. Okay, so again, these do have 250K pots in them. And it is a Strat. That's normal. Now, one thing that is not normal, besides myself, of course, are my favorite pickups, which are the original Don Lace sensors before he passed away and his son took over and ruined everything. But these are what you have, or what you have in your Strat Plus and everything. So this is all set up exactly the same scale and so forth as a Strat. everything's in the same position. Okay, but if you'll notice, there are 0 knobs here. Okay, these are all lace sensor silver pickups. Generally, they will use the silver for the middle position, a blue up here where it sounds like a P90, and then a red in the bridge, which is kind of a hotter rock and roll, you know, kind of humbucker sounding. But I like the 3 silvers together. I don't know many people that use that. Some have done so just because they like the sound of mine. So all the specs are the same. So I raise and lower each one to get them hotter because they're all 7.1 on their outputs. Okay, even though it does not have any knobs, it still cannot just go straight to the jack like it's a blow switch, you know, where it bypasses everything. For me, it still has to sound like those pots are in line, and I have to put resistors in here to make it sound the way I wanted it. And the way I wanted it to sound, I've got them around. I know I don't have to go through all this all the time, but I did bring in a couple guitars when that was being built and said, I want this, and I want this, and I want this. One of them being a Paul Reed Smith SEEG. I'll show you that in a second. But one of them was this. Okay, James Burton signature telly. These actually have 3 silver lace sensors. They quit putting the name lace sensor on them at a certain point. Then they put a cool, I wish this would have been out back when I had my guitar made, the S1 switch, which goes from series to parallel. It really does a good job at simulating a humbucker. And then I brought that in because I said I want everything to sound like that guitar. So study the internal workings. And I said I want it mixed with this guitar, so I got that kind of a bridge basically. It's got one little place where I can change it. But yeah, the Korean one, I like them, as most of you know, way better than the American ones as far as the Paul Reed Smiths go. It's just my personal thing. A friend of mine gave me a heads up on a perfect one of these, and it just sold today. I put a bid in for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just because I really don't need any more of these. The last one that I bought, I sold for $1,000. Brand new in the case. But I didn't want to play that game, so somebody walked away with it today for $350. You guys missed it. So anyway, it was those 2 guitars I wanted for this. Inside back of here are just 2 resistors, which total up to 470K. So it's not quite 500, but that's what my Burton ended up being. Why? Because potentiometers don't always run correct. Again, variables, like I've always told you guys. We talk about tolerances in the pots. They kind of go 500 there, and there's only the 2 pots there, but they were both lower by a lot as far as what they're supposed to be. They're not 250K pots each. That's what I meant to say. Fender guitars got 2 250K pots. So that should be 500K of resistance in there. Okay? But it didn't spec at that when we put it on the big old fancy measuring machine. It came at 470. So on the resistor, 470K. So we put it in, so there's 2 resistors in here, and put them at 470. So it would sound exactly like that one, measured everything exact. So if I wanted this thing to not be quite as bright, I could take one of those resistors out and bring it down to just 250 and modify it just a little bit, and it would take some of the high end off. If I wanted to open up and get some more high end, I just change one of those resistors and bring it all up to about 600, you know, and just change them one at a time. Go to Radio Shack, go get them. But that's kind of how it all works. I just wanted to let you know that, yeah, all the pickup makers design all these on a specific guitar to go in a specific location. on a specific scale of a guitar. So again, if you're trying to cram Stratocaster pickups in a 24.75 Gibson scale guitar, you can get a couple of them in the same place, but you'll never get all three of them in the same place because there's just not room to do it. So check into how or what kind of a guitar they were using when they designed the pickup. If they can't tell you that, then you need to find either more resources or somebody that's a little smarter. Once again, Scott Grove, just wanted to share that little bit with you. But if you always wonder why your pickups don't sound like the person who uses them that you love in their guitar, it's probably because yours is a different scale. Your pickups are located in different positions. Some humbuckers are all the way down here. Some of them are positioned way up here. So yours may be way off. Here's a quick example. Again, sorry for wasting your time and me not editing. But a perfect example, let's go to two Ibanez guitars. Again, here's a PS, let's go to here's a PS10. See where the humbucker is in location to that bridge. Okay, it's pretty far away. So it's going to be mellower if the specs are meant to do that, to put it that far away. So if you were to put something there that was designed to go in this guitar, where it's slammed right against there, it's not going to sound anything like it. It's going to be a lot brighter down here than it would be in that guitar. And they're both the same scale. But the pickup location is very different, and that's enough to make a lot of difference. So whatever you heard that pickup sound great in, look at the instrument. How far away are the pickups from the bridge? Because the pickup was designed in a guitar. So what was that guitar? And the majority of it, very vastly the majority, is going to be the scale length and the placement of the pickup. Okay, so that's going to be the biggest difference. Again, if it doesn't sound like what you want it to, it's because you just didn't pay attention to basically what I just said. It's nothing to say know it all, because everybody likes to say that about me. No, it's just fact, and just be on the lookout for that kind of thing when it doesn't sound right. Remember what I have told you, that everything makes a difference as far as placement of the pickups. So find out what kind of guitar they put it in, and again, the whole specs, the scale length and the distance from the bridge or from the neck, and then you'll be fine. It'll sound like what it's supposed to when it was made. Okay, you guys be groovy. Head over groovymusiclessons.com for whatever I have laying over there today, and catch you soon. Peace. Beep beep.